In this video, we will learn 10 new words through short stories. It might seem like a small step, but in 100 days, you will easily learn 1,000 words, which is a big achievement. To help you learn better, please watch each video twice. At the end of the video, try to make your own sentences using the new words you've learned. Stay with us and let's explore today's new words. The deadline that changed my life. My name is Alex. I used to be the king of procrastination. Whenever I had a task, I would say, "I'll do it tomorrow." Tomorrow always seemed like a better day, but it never came. One day, I received an email about a writing competition. The winner would get a scholarship to a top university. Writing was my passion, but procrastination was my habit. I had 3 weeks to submit my story, and I thought, I'll start next week. The first week passed. I spent it watching movies, scrolling through my phone, and telling myself, there's plenty of time. The second week passed, and I told myself, next week, I'll focus. By the time I opened my laptop, only 3 days remained. I panicked. The blank page stared at me, mocking my procrastination. My mind raced. Why did I waste so much time? I stayed up late that night trying to write. I drank coffee and stared at the screen, but my ideas were messy. The day of the deadline arrived, and my story was incomplete. I felt defeated. If only I hadn't procrastinated, I whispered. But something unexpected happened. A friend called and said, the deadline was extended by 2 days. It felt like a miracle. This time, I didn't waste a second. I locked myself in my room, focused, and poured my heart into the story. When I hit submit, I felt proud. My procrastination almost ruined my chance, but I learned an important lesson. Procrastination steals time. I decided to never let it control me again. 2 months later, I got an email. Congratulations! You won the competition. That moment changed my life.
The promise I couldn't break. My name is Sarah, and this is a story about commitment. 2 years ago, I made a promise to my little brother Liam. He wanted to compete in a charity marathon, but he couldn't run because of an injury. I'll run for you, I told him. First, the idea of running 26 miles seemed exciting. But soon I realized how difficult commitment can be. I had to wake up at 5 a.m. every day for training. I had to say no to late-night parties with friends. Sometimes I wanted to quit. One cold morning, I stood by the window looking at the rain. Do I really need to do this? I asked myself. But then I remembered Liam's smile when I promised him. Commitment means staying true even when it's hard. The weeks passed and my legs grew stronger. My commitment grew stronger too. But a week before the marathon, disaster struck. I sprained my ankle during training. Maybe you should stop, my mom said gently. But Liam looked at me and said, I know you'll do it, Sarah. You always keep your commitments. On race day, my ankle hurt, but I didn't care. I ran slowly but steadily. As I reached the finish line, Liam was there, cheering louder than anyone else. You did it, he shouted. Tears filled my eyes. My commitment had carried me through. Since that day, I've realized that commitment is more than a promise. It's the strength to keep going, even when it feels impossible.
The day flexibility saved my trip. My name is Daniel, and I learned the value of flexibility during a trip that almost didn't happen. Last year, I planned a weekend hike with my best friend Jake. We were excited about the mountains, fresh air, and the adventure. Everything was ready, our gear, food, and the route. But on the morning of our trip, it started pouring rain. "Let's cancel," Jake said, disappointed. But I didn't want to give up so easily. "What if we change our plan?" I asked. Flexibility means finding a new way forward. Jake looked unsure, but I convinced him. Instead of hiking in the mountains, we decided to explore a small town nearby. It wasn't what we planned, but we embraced the change. When we arrived, the rain had stopped and the town was beautiful. We visited a local museum, met friendly shop owners, and tried delicious food at a small cafe. Jake smiled and said, "This wasn't the adventure I imagined, but it's even better." Flexibility turned a ruined plan into an unforgettable day. On the way back, I thought about how life is full of unexpected changes. Plans can break, but with flexibility, we can still find joy and success. Now I always remind myself, flexibility is like water. It flows around obstacles and finds a new path. Without it, I might have missed one of the best days of my life.
The missed appointment that changed everything. My name is Emma, and I've never been good at keeping appointments. But one day I learned just how important they are. It was a bright Monday morning, and I had an important job interview. The appointment was at 10 a.m., but I thought, I have plenty of time. I took a long shower, had breakfast, and even scrolled through my phone. At 9:30, I realized I was running late. I can still make it, I told myself. But as I rushed out the door, I forgot my bag, so I had to go back. By the time I reached the bus stop, the bus had just left. I checked the time, 9:50. Panic hit me. I ran to get a taxi, but there was traffic everywhere. When I arrived at the office, it was 10:20. The receptionist gave me a sad smile. "I'm sorry, but you missed your appointment," she said. I felt terrible. This wasn't just a missed appointment, it was a missed opportunity. I sat outside the office, thinking about how I could have planned better. Appointments are not just about showing up, they are about respect, preparation, and timing. That day, I made a promise to myself. I wrote every appointment in a planner and set reminders on my phone. 2 months later, I had another interview. This time, I arrived 15 minutes early. The manager smiled and said, "You're very punctual." I got the job. Now, I never take appointments lightly. They can change your life, but only if you keep them.
When my agenda led to a perfect day. My name is Alex, and I never thought an agenda could change my life. It was the first day of my new job. I woke up feeling nervous but excited. I grabbed my agenda to check the plan for the day. Team meeting at 9 o'clock, client call at 11 o'clock, and project discussion at 3 o'clock. I read aloud. I smiled, thinking, having an agenda makes everything clear. At 9 a.m., I sat in the meeting room. My manager handed out the day's agenda. Each task was listed with clear times and goals. "This is how we stay organized," she said. I nodded, realizing how helpful an agenda could be for keeping everyone on track. But at 11 o'clock, disaster struck. I couldn't find my agenda. I had written my notes for the client call in it. I searched everywhere, my desk, my bag, even the hallway. Without my agenda, I felt lost. Suddenly, my colleague Sarah walked over. "Is this your agenda?" she asked, holding it up. "You left it in the meeting room." I grabbed it like it was treasure. "Thank you," I said with relief. The client call went smoothly, and I felt in control again. By 3 o'clock, I was ready for the project discussion. As we worked, I kept referring to my agenda, making sure I didn't miss anything. At the end of the day, I looked at my agenda one last time. Every task was checked off. I felt accomplished and proud. An agenda isn't just a list, I thought. It's a guide that helps you succeed. Now I use my agenda every day. It's not just about writing tasks, it's about staying focused and prepared.
When favoritism stole my chance. My name is Mia, and I never thought favoritism could hurt so much until it did. It all started with a school competition. Our teacher, Mrs. Brown, announced that the winner would get a scholarship. Everyone was excited. I worked day and night on my project. This is my chance, I thought. The big day arrived. All the students presented their work. Some were creative, some were simple, and some, like mine, were detailed and unique. But when it was time to choose the winner, something strange happened. Mrs. Brown praised one student, Jake, more than anyone else. She kept saying, "Jake is such a talented boy." I looked at his project. It wasn't as good as many others, but Mrs. Brown smiled only at him. I realized this wasn't about the project, it was about favoritism. When Jake was announced as the winner, my heart sank. I wasn't sad because I lost. I was sad because favoritism had stolen my chance. It wasn't fair to the others who worked so hard. That night, I told my mom about it. She listened and said, "Mia, favoritism happens everywhere, but you can't let it stop you. Keep doing your best, and one day someone will see your true talent." Her words stayed with me. I didn't give up. I entered another competition and won. This time it was fair. I learned that favoritism might create short-term winners, but real success comes to those who work hard and stay determined. Now I share my story with others. I tell them favoritism can hurt, but it can't defeat someone who never stops trying.
Trusting my intuition saved the day. My name is Liam, and I used to ignore my intuition. I thought intuition was just a feeling, something you couldn't trust. But one day that feeling became my guide. It was a late evening, and I was walking home from work. The street was quiet, and everything seemed normal. Suddenly, my intuition told me to stop. I couldn't explain it. It was like a whisper in my mind saying, "Turn around." I paused and looked behind me. At first, I saw nothing. I shook my head and thought, "Liam, you're being silly." But my intuition grew stronger. It wasn't fear. It was something deeper. So I trusted it. I quickly crossed the street and continued walking. That's when I heard footsteps. Two men appeared from the shadows, looking around like they were searching for something, or someone. My heart raced. My intuition had warned me. I hurried to a nearby store and stayed inside until I felt safe. Later, I learned there had been robberies in the area. My intuition wasn't just a random feeling, it had protected me. Since that night, I've learned to listen to my intuition. It's like a silent guide, helping me make decisions when logic isn't enough. Sometimes, intuition tells me to take a different route, choose a different option, or even trust someone when I have no reason to. Now, I teach others about intuition. I tell them it's more than just a feeling, it's your mind and heart working together. Trusting your intuition can save you, guide you, and help you see what you can't explain.
How adaptability helped me survive the unexpected. My name is Emma, and I learned the true meaning of adaptability on a day I will never forget. It was my first day at a new job in a foreign country. I didn't know the language well, and the office culture was completely different from what I was used to. 9 a.m., my boss called for an emergency meeting. Everyone rushed into the conference room, speaking quickly. I couldn't follow most of the conversation, but I understood one word: deadline. My heart sank. I realized I was expected to present a plan for a project I hadn't even started. This was my moment to test my adaptability. Instead of panicking, I took a deep breath and started asking questions. "Could you clarify the goals?" I asked. My colleagues were patient and provided some context. With their help, I improvised a plan and explained my ideas using simple language. Team seemed impressed by my adaptability. They even said, "Your ability to adapt is a strength." That day, I learned that adaptability is not just about adjusting to change, it's about staying calm, asking the right questions, and being flexible. In the weeks that followed, adaptability became my best friend. When the office software was updated, I adapted. When I faced cultural differences, I adapted. When my project scope changed, I adapted again. Each challenge became an opportunity to grow. Now I understand that adaptability is a skill you can develop. It's not about being perfect, it's about being willing to adjust and learn.
The bridge we built with mutual understanding. My name is Daniel, and I never thought a language barrier would teach me the power of mutual understanding. It started when I moved to Japan for work. I didn't know much Japanese, and my coworker, Hiroshi, didn't speak much English. On my first day, Hiroshi tried to explain a process to me, but I couldn't follow. He grew frustrated, and so did I. We were like two ships passing in the night. Without mutual understanding, even simple tasks felt impossible. One afternoon, I decided to break the ice. Using a translation app, I said, "I want to understand you better." Hiroshi smiled and replied in broken English, "Mutual understanding is key." That moment changed everything. From then on, we both worked to build mutual understanding. I started learning Japanese words, and Hiroshi practiced English phrases. When words failed, we used gestures and drawings. We discovered that mutual understanding wasn't about perfect communication, it was about patience, effort, and respect. One day, we had to present a project together. It was a big moment for both of us. "Let's focus on our mutual understanding," Hiroshi said with confidence. During the presentation, we complemented each other perfectly. Where I struggled, Hiroshi stepped in, and where he hesitated, I supported him. The audience noticed our teamwork and applauded loudly. That experience taught me that mutual understanding is a bridge. It connects people, even when their worlds seem far apart. Now, Hiroshi and I are not just co-workers, we are friends. And every time we face a challenge, we remind each other, mutual understanding will guide us.
Breaking the chains of preconception. My name is Emma, and I used to think I knew everything about people. But my preconceptions taught me how little I actually understood. When I started volunteering at a community center, I had a preconception about Carlos, a new volunteer. He seemed quiet and distant, and I assumed he wasn't friendly. He probably doesn't care about this work, I thought. That preconception influenced how I treated him. I kept my distance, too. One day, we were assigned to plan a big event together. I wasn't happy, but I decided to keep things professional. As we worked, I realized Carlos had great ideas. He spoke softly but thoughtfully, and his passion for helping others became clear. Slowly, I started questioning my preconception. During a break, I asked Carlos why he joined the center. He smiled and said, "To challenge my own preconceptions." I used to think volunteering was a waste of time, but now I see how meaningful it is. His words hit me hard. I had let my preconceptions limit my view of him, just as he once limited his view of volunteering. From that moment, everything changed. We worked together with respect and trust. Carlos became a great friend, and I learned the power of looking beyond preconceptions. The event, I saw Carlos helping an elderly woman find her seat. He smiled warmly and she thanked him. Watching that scene, I realized how much I would have missed if I had let my preconceptions define him. Preconceptions can block us from seeing the truth, but breaking them opens the door to real understanding. Now I remind myself, never judge a book by its cover, especially when that book might become a lifelong friend.